Okay.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good whatever it is, wherever you are, ladies and gentlemen, other peoples. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live here on YouTube, brought to you by us, the many, yay, folks from Nerd Caliber. And we have an awful lot of stuff to talk about. We got a lot of people who are going to do a lot of talking, so we're going to jump right into it. Plus, we kind of don't really have much in the way of promotional stuff because cons are all gone. We'll be talking about that later, too. So we're going to start with introductions. Well, Rodney Brown, that would be me, editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, Burley_adopter on Twitter as a tech journalist, and we are going to start with the person who's been away for the longest, the only person in this crowd who's actually been mistaken for my son by a lot of other white people. But we'll get into that. Introduce yourself, sir.
Oh, me?
No. Lewis.
I get brother, not
Lewis,
son.
Who is the only person in this crowd that's been mistaken for my son at a restaurant?
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, that is true. I mean, they couldn't tell the difference between me being brown and you being like ghostly white, but whatever, it's okay. No, it was the New Orleans place, right?
Yeah. Authentic Cajun cuisine in Western Mass, which is, where you would expect it.
Yeah, delicious Cajun food. So basically, he's the pre-cooked chicken, and then I'm the spice. So but anyways, yes, I have been gone for a long time. So welcome back to me, the greatest. Crash the Stampede, Crash the Photos, co-producer here at Nerd Caliber. It's been a while. I've been really busy dealing with a lot of different things. So I apologize that I haven't been able to hang out with you guys and bring some news and talk some BS and throw some money in a swear jar that's overflowing and paying the coffers of the executives here in Nerd Caliber. That's not true, right?
I probably owe some money.
I don't think anybody
I
owes
have
money.
said, if there's a dictionary right now that had my name on it, it only have F's. That's all.
F for fabulous.
F for fabulous. Let's see, the returning from a couple of weeks off, the F for fabulous. Introduce yourself if you would.
I think that might be me.
That is you.
Sorry, Greg. Hi, I'm Gogo Incognito, longtime Nerd Caliber contributor, video hostess, etc. If you want to see some of the awesome things I've done with Nerd Caliber over the years, you can go and look at the archives on where you are right now. You're there on YouTube with Nerd Caliber. And it's been really fun to, Lewis was actually bringing up Lewis
Lewis is fine.
I should know.
Yeah,
this.
Lewis is fine.
Brought up
you don't want to give me on a spiel about being called Luis.
Okay, no, you don't. But anyway, we saw right as the beginning of the show was coming up, Lewis pulled up some great old things that I had done for Nerd Caliber, and it just makes me want to go down the rabbit hole and look at my own videos because I need that ego boost right now. But if you want to see how else I've been feeding my ego, I have new content up on Instagram, and it is NC-17. Please, if you are not older than that, please don't go to my Instagram. If you are, then please go to Gogo_Incognito. It rhymes. Gogo_Incognito. I've got brand new content, all shot virtually, which is really neat. So go check it out. 18 and over.
Cool. And the person whose beard puts mine to shame, if you would, sir.
Are you saying I'm a beard?
Yeah, you might be a beard. I don't know what Heather's doing.
I know a couple bars that you could be a real good beer at.
Well, that's probably true.
Yeah, except we can't go to them at the moment.
No.
Also true. Stay home, folks.
Anyway, hi everybody. Wonder Llama Cosplay Andor Photography, aka Greg. Haven't been doing a whole lot of photography at the moment. I'd be interested to hear more about virtual photography with Gogo after we wrap up. I have just wrapped up doing some pretty cool cosplay after a fashion. As the beard may be a dead giveaway, and the size of my belly, which you can't see on the small screen there. I am I cosplay Hagrid, and for the last 3 weeks, I've been reading from Prisoner of Azkaban on a big Facebook Live group, and that's been a whole ton of fun. And it ended last night, so now I'm just back to civilians putting on the sweatshirt, which is clean. Just came out of the laundry this morning, so I'm good. And I showered today as well, so I'm batting 1,000 at the moment.
Cool. Not that we're saying that Hagrid doesn't do those things. We don't know.
Also, for people who are watching, please look at Greg. I enjoy cosplaying with him so very much. And with the beard, I have asked that he would please do Tormund Giantsbane to go with my Cersei, where I am Rita Skeeter to his Hagrid. And they're like discordant characters that don't really interact much, but we have such a good time. So please, if you're watching, if you're following, be like, yes, Greg, do this. You absolutely have to. Plus, the personality is right there, and you already have the accent.
Absolutely.
I do.
Endorsed.
I do like big women.
Hold on. So for some reason, we have a billion people in chat from well before we started. Clea Favaccio, welcome to the show. Shadow Bonnie, welcome to the show. Amber Caldwell, welcome to the show. Wolfie Killer, hi. Tangled Cosplay, hello. Villain Izuka Midoriya, you are a villain, but welcome, hello anyway. Let's see, who else did we have here? That was Greg. Oh, General Zero, welcome to the show. Colin Fox, welcome to the show. I think I got all of you that were here already. And as always, throw out any questions. We'll try to answer them if they apply to anything we're doing here. Because we've got a lot of stuff and a lot of people, we are going to jump right into our very first topic. And that first topic is there is going to be a new Green Hornet movie. That image that popped up on your screen is from the original TV series, Green Hornet. And that is Green Hornet and Kato. Kato, of course, Bruce Lee. The first introduction of Bruce Lee to the American audiences. And apparently Universal is teaming up with the production company that bought the rights to this after the Seth Rogen joint. So Universal Pictures and Amasha Entertainment making Green Hornet and Kato is going to be the title of the movie. Apparently this was the rights to this were some bidding war back in January. So hopefully Seth Rogen made even more money because Lord knows he needs it, I'm sure. And that's it. No other news we really know of other than it obviously with the title of Kato in it is either going to concentrate as much on Kato as on Green Hornet or is simply there to pander to the growing Chinese audience if you're being cynical. So, no, anybody? Yes, no?
I mean, I like hero movies, and Green Hornet is a really cool hero that had a different dynamic than a lot of other heroes, and in that he was always pretending to be the mafia bad guy. He was the equivalent, or I think he might have been the inspiration for Matches Malone for Batman. That Matches Malone.
Well, yeah, I mean, kind of. That's where he gets the name, but yeah. Yeah, Matches, the guy we know, gets his name from the actual character that Bruce Wayne cosplayed, I guess would be a word. A pretend mobster that Bruce Wayne did during a run of Batman, whose name was Matches Malone.
And he did a great job of manipulating Gotham, and Green Hornet did that a lot.
So for anybody, I mean, this is a 60s show, and if you missed the movie that came out, you're probably not super familiar with it. Rod, you want to give everybody a real super quick rundown of what the TV show is about?
So Green Hornet is kind of a Batman, Iron Man. He's a rich guy. In this case, what he is the owner of a newspaper and publishing empire, and his driver, footman, whatever you would describe him, Kato, is a martial arts expert. And the publisher, I can't remember the character's actual name right now, and I'm looking through it real quickly to find it. Britt Reed. There we go. Britt Reed likes gadgets, and so he has this super cool car and a super cool gas gun that he actually shoots gas pellets that knock people out. But as Lewis was saying, he created this Green Hornet character to be both a figure that the underworld thinks is part of the underworld, and the cops think is a vigilante, possibly even a bad guy member of the underworld. And they go out and they solve crime using all of the power of his social media empire money. And that's it.
One of the best crossovers I ever read was two of my favorite heroes being Green Hornet and the Shadow.
Ooh.
And that was one of the best. Like, I always recommend reaching out if you guys can take a look and look that up, because it was such a good little run of having a guy who just kills bad guys going after a guy who pretends to be a bad guy. It was really good.
So if you are a Venture Brothers fan,
of course,
and you've watched the newer Venture Brothers, there is a whole thing where the Monarch, and I don't do spoilers, but there is a Green Hornet / Kato subplot that is really wonderful, because it follows this, where again it's like you think that the character that the Monarch is taking on is a bad guy, or people think he is, but he's actually doing all this good, and it's wonderful if you know anything about the characters of the Venture Brothers. Also, if you haven't caught up with the newer seasons of the Venture Brothers, it got really good again. I know that's off topic, but it relates, as we're talking about like crossovers.
We never go off topic here.
We never go off topic. No. We'll consider that endorsed, and I will check that out. Princess Ina, welcome to the show. Oi, oi.
So this definitely harkens back to sort of the era when Batman, I think, this was 1966, so this is actually right around when the, the Adam West Batman series was on, which kind of skewed Batman in a weird new direction. But there was a lot of like Silver Age of comics, like the detective types wearing masks, the Shadow, the Green Hornet, Batman once upon a time, before he got
the precursor, the Rorschach too.
Yep, exactly. So could be interesting. That's pretty much all we know about it at the moment. We'll keep an eye out on that. I don't know whether the lack of any actual production at the moment means this is just the legal stuff has been done and nothing more, but hopefully we'll find out.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where it's at.
Yeah, I think it's just an announcement that they secured the rights, and there's probably a script halfway written somewhere stuck to the bottom of someone's shoe.
Yeah.
That could be, and I'm going to throw in my my incidental plug, although I can't think the actual name of it. There's a fantastic Bruce Lee documentary, not the movie The Dragon, which is actually pretty cool, but an actual Bruce Lee documentary that talks quite a bit about this section, interviewing some of the cameramen and special effects people and stuntmen that worked with him on this. And they had to tell him to constantly slow himself down because they just couldn't get his feet in frame. And
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it's
wasn't that not to go too far off the rails here, but wasn't that produced or at least paid for by his son? I vaguely remember something like that, a documentary where his son Brandon produced that went into all of that.
Maybe, let's not get into that. I think it happened long after, sadly, Brandon died too. But anyway, got a lot of stuff. We're moving on to our next topic. And that is the screenshot that just jumped up in front of you there, folks. Hold on a second. Brady, welcome back to the show. Luminous, welcome back to the show. That is a screenshot from one of the many, actually I think that was from one of the covers of the game Myst. I know a lot of you in the chat aren't old enough to remember what this was, but it was one of the very first fairly super realistic 3D graphics games that was literally nothing but a puzzle game. You had to explore an island and figure out what the weirdness of the island was. You didn't even really know why, possibly just to get off of it. But and the news here is that Village Roadshow Pictures, has taken this on as a movie or series.
Series.
I think series, yeah.
The downside of this is that they've tapped the writer of X-Men First Class, Ashley Edward Miller, to write it. That's my personal opinion of downsides. I was not a huge fan of First Class. I thought it had some real structural problems. The fantastic performances by people like Kevin Bacon aside. Yeah.
What else have they made?
I do not know.
Who actually, I'm not sure. I will say I thought X-Men First Class was fine, but it's one of those movies my husband has probably watched 75 plus times. He knows every line, and I'm like, I don't know why you're so into this. He's like, it just works. So it works for some people, and I'm sure he's not the only one. I mean, the movie was a success, yada yada yada. Again, I thought it was fine, but man, it's up there with one of his absolute favorites. So definitely Ashley is able to tap into something that some people like.
Well, on that point, Lewis, the answer is apparently some stuff that I love, or at least one thing I love. She wrote Terminator's Sarah Connor Chronicles, Black Sails, which I know a ton of our friends.
I love Black Sails so
Black
much.
Sails was so good.
It was.
So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I jumped the gun on this.
I like to look at a person's whole thing as opposed to just one thing, because we all trip every once in a while.
This is true, and honestly, I will say the same thing about Damon Lindelof. After Watchmen on HBO, all the garbage he did with Lost is past. It's washed away in my mind.
And going back to Myst really briefly, like Myst is one of those incredibly early video games that pioneered full motion video, because there were brief cutscenes that illustrated plot points, and that led the way for Westwood Studios, which created my favorite franchise, which is coming back again, I guess. Red Alert series.
Oh yeah.
That had so many full motion videos and things like that. So like Myst set a lot of precedents in terms of video game design and advancement, and so it's always worth going back, because there was a Myst Reborn and Riven, the sequel to Myst, and I actually think
I remember seeing so many stills from Riven and how beautiful it was.
It's great. It had a great story, and I think it lends itself very well to a TV series if you make it atmospheric and like very like detective-y kind of. Like, you can have some kind of bad villain in there, that's fine. But I think if you really play to the strengths of the exploration and discovery of all the twists and turns, you can actually come out with a very good, like, Twin Peaks type show.
Cool.
Greg, you were trying to jump in there on something?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about, like, I remember being completely taken by Myst when it first came out. And I loved that it was so much about puzzles and solving problems and finding stuff and exploring things, and not just pew 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 pew. If there's anything wrong with that. I was saying to Rodney when we were talking about this, like, if all they did was like 22-minute episodes of just 3D graphic like flyovers, like the stuff they put on like PBS that you can watch when you're just chilling out at home, don't really want to watch anything too heavy, just watch like planes fly over, the green hills of Ireland in slow motion, that kind of thing. I would watch that program if all it did was fly over the island.
I get bored after a while. So I think that brings up my one concern, not concern, but my big question is here, what are they going to do to create that dramatic narrative tension? There is nothing like that in the game. You're exploring. That's literally it.
So yes and no.
All right.
In Myst, the storyline, it was very convoluted, but the basic gist of it is, if I recall, I'm just drawing from memory here, is there were two brothers that were in conflict with one another, and one of them trapped the other in a series of books. That's where, if you open the books, you see the FMV videos, where the brother is talking to you directly. And then there was a convoluted plot with the brother, the one who trapped the other brother, trying to take all the wonderful science and technology and like maybe possibly try to take over the world. And in the process, you were the one trying to figure out all these convoluted puzzles to find out where he was at, where he was hiding, so you can prevent this.
That could be. Maybe I never got that far in the games. I do remember.
And I've never played the games. I've only seen pictures and heard wonderful things about it.
If it makes you guys feel any better, back when I was a child and I played this game, I had a choice between that and Oregon Trail, and I got so tired of dysentery that's why I went to Myst. I never got past that damn river.
Yeah, I was probably still playing early Wolfenstein back then. Dyslexicon, yes, we are talking Myst, and welcome to the show. Luminous, thank you. I realize that if I turn the game on my mic up, I can actually be heard, as opposed to the last couple of sessions where my mic has been really quiet because I'm a moron. And Deku Midoriya, welcome to the second Midoriya in our show. We all look so pretty. Have your prescription checked, but thank you. There's a few of us.
I think you are absolutely correct, and I appreciate that.
There are a few of us who are, in fact, quite pretty.
That's kind of cool. So I just did a quick search. I was going to jump on Wiki to remind myself, because I mean, this game, what did this come out of, like 1996 or 98, something like that?
It's old.
It's been around.
Yeah, and I remember it because I transitioned into Fallout. Go ahead.
93.
Gotcha. So it's owned now by a company called Cyan, which looks like they do a lot of other games. It's available on iOS, it's available on Steam, and it's available on Google Play, so Android. And I think when we wrap up, it's, what did they say it is on? $4.99. I think $5 is well worth spending right now, because this is a fun game.
Yeah, it lend itself to a tablet really well.
Cool.
I'll agree with you there. I still won't pay $4.99 because I already played it once, but that's okay. I'm a cheap bastard. All right, moving on to our next topic. That right there is a screen grab, not of Solo, a Star Wars movie, although it does star the star of that. That is from the first trailer from the upcoming Brave New World series. And it looks pretty interesting. It's going to be on the new NBC streaming platform Peacock, which is coming right up. And it stars Alden Ehrenreich, who was Solo in Solo, a Star Wars story, movie, whatever they called it. And Jessica Brown Finley from Castlevania, so I'm assuming a voice in Castlevania. Harry Lloyd from Counterpart. Nina Sosanya from His Dark Materials. Cool.
Is that the gal who was the young? Wait. Oh, this is about the series, not the movie.
Right.
Never mind.
Yeah. And so, the first trailer is up. If you want to check it out, it's out there. It kind of looks interesting. I think the last thing I saw, the last adaptation of this was way back in the 70s. Was a mini-series. And I think they leaned a lot more heavily then into the science fiction sort of overall design and aesthetic of the look of it back there in the 70s. This kind of looks like something that's taking place, 2 years from now when we all come out of quarantine. Not a lot of deep sci-fi in this.
So when I first saw that there was a trailer out for it, I was like, hell yeah, let me go check this out. This sounds like a bad bitch. And then I went and I started watching, and I was like, maybe I'm getting too old. I'm only 38, but I feel like I didn't understand shit that was going on in the damn trailer. Like, all I just know is everybody was tongue-kissing pills into each other's mouths, and I'm like, I did that when I was 20. What's so different in this world from the one I came from?
So that's when Rodney and I were chatting about this, when we saw the article coming up, that was kind of what I was thinking as well. This is one of kind of the early, all sort of classic, what do you call it? Dystopia as utopia,
right?
Or however you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I read it in high school, AP English, either junior or senior year, and I loved it.
Yep, it's often. A lot of people would often refer to it as kind of like the opposite side to the coin of Clockwork Orange, the book, not the movie. Written in a similar time frame, going for sort of a dystopia as opposed to Clockwork Orange, which is very sort of, that was a dystopia too. Anyway, it was very much sort of like a man out of time brought up into this civilization where basically nobody had to do or think anything because they had a drug that took care of all of their thoughts for them, is the very short version of it. free sex, free love. It was kind of that, tune in, turn on, tune out ethos, I guess you would say. This doesn't really look anything like that. I don't know whether this is just very broadly like, oh, hey, look, there's a book we can option cheap where there's a lot of people having sex and a lot of people doing drugs. That'll sell.
And none of that is what I remember. Like when I thought, when I watched it, when I read the thing and I watched the trailer, I was like, this is not what I remember from Brave New World, which I really liked. And we had that whole thing where it was like read Clockwork Orange, read Brave New World, read Fahrenheit 451, and discuss. It was that part of that thing, and I really liked all of them. And I have always been a fan of dystopian worlds, but none of what was in that trailer and was even in the description about the show was really my takeaway or the things that I really remember. So I'll have to see. The other thing is, okay, NBC streaming service, is it going to be like, can they really do like this? Is again with what Rodney's with what Greg's talking about with the sexual fluidity, where there's no need for monogamy anymore because it's all test tube babies, and procreation is completely controlled, and it's that whole thing, and this, I'm not giving anything away, this is all what was in the article, and it's what part of it is where it's like there's a caste system based on intelligence and blah blah blah. Okay, that sounds cool. That sounds more like a Netflix, Hulu, or HBO thing. Like, are they really going to show all that sex and drugs?
We don't know what Peacock is going to be doing as far as censoring. We know that DCU doesn't. Just look at Titans, where you've got, Dick Grayson dropping F-bombs like nothing. We know that Disney Plus does, having...
Swearing is different than nudity and simulated sex.
Yep. Well, that's true, but then again, there's actually there isn't really that much sex in Titans. There's a lot of gore and violence, but yeah, Disney Plus. We know that they put hair extensions on Daryl Hannah so you didn't see her butt. So Disney Plus isn't going to go down that route, but the other streamers, so far, the new streamers seem to be relishing the idea that this is an opportunity. I mean, even CBS All Access has more violence and more swearing in their Star Trek stuff than they ever did before. So I don't know, and I do recall the concept of the free love and the drug use and so on from when I read Brave New World, way back before you did. But back in the 80s, I went to bars that were wilder than what was described in Brave New World and what we've seen in this trailer. It has moved past its time. So if the show isn't, if that's just not background coloring and the show isn't about the intellectual caste system and the people who live in the savage lands to avoid that sort of lockstep of society, then it's just going to be, it's like, oh yeah, look, here's a movie about, the 60s.
Potter.
Yeah. And honestly, I've never read Clockwork Orange, nor have I ever read A Brave New World, but based on what you're saying, I can only make comparisons to movies that I have seen, one of them being Equilibrium, which they take a pill to suppress their emotions as opposed to but then also Demolition Man, one of my favorite movies, where you have the caste system above ground and the people living below.
Oh my God, I remember movie where he goes down below and he gets a rat burger.
Yep. Yeah. Honestly, you know what? Demolition Man is the Brave New World as Brave New World should have been. I'll go there.
Yeah. There's nothing like that line.
In so long, the things that stay with you. I remember being so grossed out by the rat burger, probably because I was in New York and it was like, oh my God, no.
I remember I said that line to my mom years ago when I was young, and I was just like, ¿Qué es este carne? And she goes, what? And I'm like, es carne de rata. And then she slapped the shit out
of me. Oh my God. Yeah. Dennis Leary, and so much wonderful about that. And we're all going to be using the 3 seashells in a couple of months anyway. So,
I got it today now.
I'll just throw it out there. It's also in the same vein as like 1984. I think Demolition Man is a good movie analog for that. I was thinking it was written in the early 60s. It was actually written in 1931.
Yeah.
So the language may be a little bit dated, but I think the ideas behind it, the sociology behind it, it's an interesting read. You might have a hard time getting through the language at this point. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I've read it as well. But if you've got time on your hands at the moment, obviously some people do, some people don't, and you're interested in reading a foundational dystopian book. I mean, we're going to talk about the Hunger Games in a few minutes. The Hunger Games would not exist without this book.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But
if you're talking about challenging language to get through as a read, Clockwork Orange, the guy invents a whole new slang, a lot of which is Russian, and that's a challenge to get through.
Yep. It helps if you drink a lot of vodka.
For those of us who are old enough to do that, our 21 and plus watchers. Moving on, because as I mentioned, we are talking about...
you were talking about Go-Go.
Nice one. It's a way to suck up there, son. I like it.
Oh man, that's all day.
All day. Moving on.
My skin's not the only thing that's brown.
The image you are now all looking at, that none of our my co-hosts here are, is of course the first look at the Robert Pattinson Batman suit, and the news is that we finally have some actual dates for all of the Warner Brothers DC stuff that's being pushed forward because of, guess what, that darn virus. It's kind of like that darn cat, except deadly and much worse.
Yeah.
So, Batman, or The Batman, October 4th, 2021, instead of its original release date of June 25th. So not a huge kick. They somehow have actually rescheduled The Flash, even though I don't think there's a script yet, or still. And it's actually been moved up a month from July 2022 to June 2022. Okay.
Okay.
And Shazam sequel is now November 2022.
Didn't see the first one.
It's worth it.
Yeah, neither have I, but I've heard great things about it. Because I went and got the DC streaming, and then I'm like, oh, cool, I can watch Shazam. Oh, wait, it's not on here. This is dumb.
I would imagine soon they'll have it on there. They probably...
It's on,
yeah,
it's on Hulu.
Yeah, they probably have it on somebody else's release platform as part of an agreement. So until that disappears, they can't bring it over to their own.
A lot of the DC movies aren't on DC streaming, and it's stupid.
But a lot of the animated ones are.
And those are the whiz bangers right there.
Exactly.
I can't wait for this Batman movie purely because I've been wanting a Batman Earth One style movie for a long time. I got nothing against the other movies. They're all their very own vehicles, but I really wanted something that's more detective-y and
I think you mean Batman Year One. Because Batman Earth One.
What did I say?
You said Earth One. It's like, well, yeah, he's Earth One because that's the original Batman. But
I'll give you an Earth One.
Although I think more of this element is, from what I understand, Year Two. Or it's like mixes Year One and Year Two stuff, and then plus a bunch of other things. I
mean, they never sample directly from one thing, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I want to see more of the detective stuff. I think he actually looks good, and honestly, I don't pay attention to half of what people say on the internet anyways, because every time a damn Batman movie comes out, everyone crawls up everybody else's own asshole and chirps. So it's like, I don't care.
Like right now, Dyslexicon says that they've watched Aquaman and really enjoyed it, and I kind of just gagged a little bit. I'm just saying. But you do you, Dyslexicon.
I tried to watch Aquaman because, oh my God, Jason Momoa, he's up there on that list of people. If I get to, I don't want to put any money in the.
Shake hands.
I don't want to put any money in the square jar. But I couldn't make it through. Aquaman. I was like, I tried twice. And
that was a love it or hate it. Absolutely.
I also couldn't make it through the Batman, Superman, Dawn of whatever that movie was called.
Yeah, no one could.
I couldn't.
I don't know. I made it through. Okay. I tend to have a broad, very liberal view of movies, so I tend to not get caught up in like too many things like I don't kill, but let me drop a car on top of a car full of people because they all go to the hospital.
The car didn't kill, not me.
Yeah,
that part didn't bother me about it because
when
it was based on. He was based on Batman from the Dark Knight Returns, who does kill. So it's like, oh, I get that. I have no problem with that. It and Aquaman just had so much buckets of stupid. It was just like, okay. Yes, I made it through both of them as well. Crash, because if I'm gonna,
I haven't even seen Aquaman either. Every time I'm about to like watch it, like it comes off of whatever streaming service, and I'm like, yeah. And you know what? I bet you if I watched it, I'd probably be one of those people that's like, hey, I like this. This is pretty cool. But also, I understand why this person wants to murder me for saying that.
No, I don't have any angst against it. I just got bored and I couldn't keep up with it, and I was nodding off and I was checking my phone and I was like, nah, I'll come back to it at some point in time. But then I never did.
That movie needed to be Black Manta's movie. Black Manta's storyline and his conflict with Aquaman is the only thing that makes any sense in that movie. And the guy who was doing Black Manta was really good. But anyway, that's a completely different topic.
I didn't even make it far enough to see who like, I never even got far enough to see Black Manta. Anyway, without his... I did like the old school costume. It reminded me of that cartoon a lot of us grew up with, Super Friends. You remember that?
Justice League too, yeah.
And Black Manta actually reminded me of his look back when I was
Justice League.
Anyway, I'm running my mouth.
Yeah.
So,
and we're just waiting for Jan and Jace to show up.
Just as a super weird brief aside here, so the article that this was taken from was on Nerdist.com. Warner Brothers didn't blah 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 blah. They shuffled the Sopranos prequel, The Many Saints of Newark. I obviously don't pay super close attention to every bit of casting and production news out there, but did anyone else know that there was a Sopranos prequel in the works out there?
Yeah, I did, and the main character is actually the actor who passed away. That's his son. He's playing his father's young character. Yeah.
Oh my God! I used to see James Gandolfini when I lived when we lived down in the East Village, and we used to see him all the time. And like, you know how a lot of actors are really short and you don't realize they're really short? James Gandolfini was not that. You would see him coming like down the sidewalk, down the way with his wife and kids, and you're like, that is a whole lot of human. And like really just very imposing figure, always smiled and waved.
Throwing my last aside here for James Gandolfini, I've of course never met him, but if you want to see the singular, most brutally realistic physical fight, James Gandolfini versus Patricia Arquette in True Romance.
True Romance.
It is the most disturbingly accurate, brutal thing you'll ever see on film. It's wonderful, and he is just terrifying. Anyway,
absolutely terrifying. Yeah, oh my God, that's a movie I've watched probably 50 times.
Yeah.
I even named two of my fish back in the day, Clarence and Alabama. They lived like 10 years each. No, they were cichlids. They lived for a long ass time. But yeah, those were my fish, Clarence and Alabama. And some of you people are like, what is she even talking about? I'm sorry, we have True Romance, James Gandolfini, and I'm the one who brought him up, so sorry about that.
Temmie, Temmie's channel, welcome to the show. And you're the only one that gets to say Hoy? Okay, then I won't say it. Oh no, I just did. Darn it! Okay, moving on to our next topic. Greg had mentioned we're going to be talking about something to have to do with the Hunger Games. And what it is apparently there is a prequel in the works. This article says moves forward, so apparently this prequel has been in the works for a while, called The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it takes place quite a long time before the action of the Hunger Games books, because it's about President Snow starting off when he was an 8-year-old child, and his path up to basically a hero of the Panem nation. I guess you can call it a nation. And I'd never heard of this. I had no idea. But the director of the last 3 Hunger Games movies, or Catching Fire, Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, yeah, it's the last 3, is going to be the director of this. So, big news there,
Rodney,
kids.
didn't we touch on the books, the book prequel coming out in a show in the not too distant past? I know this is the first time I'd seen that they're releasing a movie more or less concurrently, but I feel like we talked about the book at one point in time, but I may be remembering wrong.
It's possible. Hey, who knows? It's this is like being a short order cook. When the eggs order comes in and goes out, you've forgotten it.
There you go.
So, but yeah, I mean, I have no idea. It doesn't say anything in here about casting or anything like that, right? We're just, they've just announced who the director's going to be. So, there's a huge, I'm sorry, not 18. We'll focus on Coriolanus Snow, President Snow, at the age of 18, years before he would become the tyrannical president of Panem. Handsome and charming, and the Snow family has fallen in hard times. He sees a chance for a change in his fortune when he is chosen to be a mentor for the 10th Hunger Games. Why would he be a mentor if he was not already somebody powerful? Anyway, never mind.
Sure, it'll all come clear in the book.
It will. So we might have talked about it. I don't recall it.
Most of the stuff I know about the Hunger Games, I think Dyslexicon, who's in the chat tonight, I think they may have told me. There was definitely a dear friend who read the books and watched all the movies, so I didn't have to.
Just a second. Temmie's channel asks, are kids allowed to watch this? Yes, kids are allowed to watch this. We do occasionally slip with a curse word, so that's up to you to decide whether or not you want your child of whatever age to walk into that. We don't show or get into anything that would get us demonetized. So at worst, you're going to hear like a couple of F-bombs or things like that. So hopefully that clears that up for you, Temmie.
We try to keep it on the up and up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it depends on whether Crash is on. A couple hundred, a couple. So, anyway.
I mean, obviously, this is news about a movie that's being, that's basically been optioned. They've got people attached to write it, to do the direction, the production, etc. But no movies are being made right now, so this is very, very early going. But if we didn't talk about the fact that there's a prequel book coming out, that apparently, where did this go? That will be on sale May 19th, so basically 1 month from now. So if you were a fan of the books, and I was, I'm certainly going to pick it up and check it out. I'm always a fan of adding more to a series that goes back in time and helps sort of paint the picture of how you got to where the main story takes place. Obviously, that's me. Dyslexicon. I've read the books for Hunger Games and watched the movie. Same here.
That's what I knew. Dyslexicon, I thought it was you who walked me through all the stuff, so I didn't have to watch or keep reading, because I was like, I don't know if I like this. And they're like, that's fine. I can tell you everything.
Yep, that's it. That's why there's lots and lots of stuff out there, because one person's cup of tea is another person's no thank you.
Exactly. And I had said earlier how much I love dystopian worlds, and I really do. Hunger Games just never clicked with me, but I still wanted to know everything that happened.
So speaking of a potentially huge no thank you, Sony has announced it's going to make a live action version of One Punch Man written by the folks that wrote Venom.
Oh gosh! Oh no!
So I'm gonna go ahead and just leave this chat.
I feel like that's That's actually a 2-punch. Live action Venom.
Yeah. Oh no, please. I mean, okay, I said this pre going into the show that I haven't watched One Punch Man, but I'm very familiar with it because I have so many friends who are obsessed with it and cosplay from it. So I know the premise, but like when I see something like this, I'm like, what if they made it as ridiculously wonderful and camp as Kung Fu Hustle?
Like, which is what it should be. It really should be Kung Fu Hustle. Yeah.
Right? It could be so perfect then, but like, and I have to say, I did rewatch Venom recently because I had a killer of a headache, and I was like, entertain me, TV. I was like, oh, and then I'm rewatching it, I'm like, so bad, so good, so bad, so good.
Interesting choice, Cotton. We'll see if that works out for them. It's just, Kung Fu Hustle is a perfect example of what this needs to be, because that's what the manga and the anime is. Yeah. It's over the top, ridiculous, silly, but occasionally heartfelt, deadpan, slap in the face humor that kind of deconstructs some of the things that are typical within its genre. In Kung Fu Hustle, it's kung fu movies, Chinese, triad movies, action movies, so on. In One Punch Man, it's literally manga and anime itself. It totally jokes on those common tropes by being essentially the ultimate be-all and end-all of this trope. One guy who's just so completely tired of being the ultimate hero because he's so powerful he can defeat literally anything with a single punch. It's wonderful. And
honestly, like if it were up to me, I'd be like, I'd make this movie like the game, the recent game that came out. Not exactly like the game, but in the concept, in that One Punch Man is not a character that you play. He's a character that shows up and saves your ass when you're getting the shit kicked out of you by every goddamn monster that comes down the road. And that's the concept, is in the game you fight the monsters and you're basically holding the line until he shows up and decks the shit out of it. And that'd be great in terms of like translating that to a movie where it's following a hero who's in the shadow of One Punch Man and is constantly like trying to stand up on their own two legs to deal with what's happening, and then One Punch Man periodically shows up. It would, to use maybe a little dated comparison, like Gotham Central, in terms of like it highlighted the cops that dealt with all the problems in Gotham City versus Batman, who shows up once in a blue moon and you see him in one panel talking to Gordon, but it's always from the perspective of the cops, not from Batman.
Right. So to be clear, you're talking about Gotham Central, the comic book, as opposed to Gotham Central High, which is a new comic book, which is about an alternate world version of them all.
Right, because I would have said High. Right. I would have said High if it was about High.
Oh, and not Gotham, the TV series, which also concentrates on the Gotham PD, but there is no Batman. So.
Right, I would have said Gotham if I did that too.
I'm just clarifying for the people that don't necessarily know this, Lewis. Just making sure that everybody's clear.
Gotta clarify the deep cuts here.
Yeah.
Gotta clarify.
The only maybe possible saving grace that I could think of for this, and I feel like I'm stretching hard here, if they gave it to the team behind Venom, is that Sony was behind Into the Spider-Verse, which was mind-bendingly incredible.
Breaking, unbelievable, incredible, nothing else like it.
Obviously, that's animated. That's a very different. That's a different production. It's a different style. It's literally everything different.
Like different writers.
Different writers. The only through line there is Sony. Maybe, please, Sony, don't F this up. Don't make a dumb American white people version of this anime. I mean, I'm just like, as I'm reading this, I'm like, so what's the over-under on Scarlett Johansson getting cast in this?
Oh my God.
Oh, please no. Please no. Yeah, who are they gonna, are we going to get Jeffrey Dean Morgan again? He's just going to shave his head this time, and he's goes from Negan to One Punch Man. So, Lewis, have you seen season 2 of One Punch Man?
Yes, I hated the whole freaking sports tournament arc. I thought it was terrible.
So I haven't played the game, but it sounds an awful lot like that's kind of what season 2 is like. Is that season 2 is a lot of waiting around for Saitama to show up and help the people that are otherwise the focus of each individual arc.
Again, kinda. Like
Yeah.
it did. Season 2 did a good job of like opening up the door for a lot of characters, side characters, to like really grow, which was nice. But then they did like this thing where it's like, here's this cool character, and introspective look at them, and they're doing something, and then we're gonna cut to this dumbass and picking his nose for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna cut back to this thing, and it was really disjointed the way they transitioned everything, because it's like you never know when we're talking about person A, because we immediately jump to him who's over here floating around doing some dumb shit,
Right.
and then we're back to person C, but you don't know what happened to person A, and it was really kind of hopped around a lot, and I didn't like it.
It's almost like Saitama was literally. It's like, oh, we've got to get him in at least one scene in each episode. What are we going to do? Oh, it's going to be, one punch so fast that, or a kick, so fast that you don't even see it's happening, and you have to wait till the next episode to see the after effects of it. But anyway, that kind of indicates that even the folks behind, well, it was a different studio and different writers behind the anime, so I guess I can't say that, than the first season. So when you take the intellectual property out of the hands of people who have done a brilliant job of it and you give it to somebody else, the odds that you're going to get that brilliant job again are pretty low. And when you do it with the people who wrote Venom, I don't know that the elevator goes that low.
I mean, it's gonna be Americanized out the ass. His name's probably gonna be like Sam Tam or something like that.
Or just Lexicon says Scarjo playing Saitama.
I thought that exactly when you said, Rodney, when you were like, and where's Scarjo? I'm like, dude, wherever they can put her.
Yeah, hopefully not in this movie. Lolbit, FNAF. Same to whichever thing we said, and welcome to the show. All right, so we're running, we're late. We've got 2 more things to cover. So let's move along. 3 more things to cover really quickly.
We got this.
The news is that image is, of course, Diego Luna, who played Cassian Andor in Rogue One and will be Cassian Andor in the Cassian Andor spin-off series that is a prequel to Rogue One. The news is that Stellan Skarsgard, who I guess I should have gotten a picture of instead of Cassian, has been tapped to join the series on Disney Plus when it hits. Do we know? We don't really know what he's playing, right?
Nah.
They didn't say.
Yeah. So Tony Gilroy, who co-wrote Rogue One, he's writing the pilot for this. I'm really, really looking forward to this. Alan Tudyk is back as the voice of K2SO.
Yes. Sure.
But anything Stellan Skarsgård is in, Eric Selvig from all of the Marvel MCU movies, or at least Thor and the Avengers once. As somebody pointed out, Bootstrap Bill from Pirates of the Caribbean. Completely forgot that was him. Yep. An amazing actor. Looking forward to, and Greg, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. So
very true. There you go. I forgot about that as well.
So we'll get to see him as, according to what Denis Villeneuve has said, the scariest version of Baron Harkonnen anybody's ever seen.
I can see it.
So, looking forward to that. But yeah, so yay for Stellan Skarsgård joining the cast. Yay for Rogue One spinoff about Cassian Andor.
Cool.
Yay for I don't really know when. Have they mentioned?
He was in Age of Ultron. Forgot about that. He was in Thor. He's pretty well known.
Yep.
Nymphomaniac Volume 1 and 2.
Really?
Oh, that's right. I forgot. He was in the UK American David Fincher version of Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Yep.
He played the bad guy.
Yes, he was a bad guy. And, of course, he was in Chernobyl, for those of you who watched that amazing thing. 2021 is when this was supposed to come out. Who knows what, again, the pandemic has done to the production schedule. Dyslexicon, you should read Dune. I've read it 5,372,000 times. That is so far an inside joke that nobody here will get it, because it goes all the way back to my high school. But I've read it many, many times, to the point where literally the book fell apart in my hands. So, moving on from that to our next subject, and we had mentioned before Justice League Dark, and guess what? There's some Justice League Dark news. That is from the animated Justice League Dark movie. Actually, we didn't mention Justice League. We mentioned Warner Brothers animated movies. That is one of the awesome Warner Brothers animated DC movies. Came out in 2007. If you're on this channel, do a quick search for Matt Ryan. I interviewed him with Greg as my cameraman at New York Comic Con 2006. No, so it was 2016, and it came out in 2017. 16. So yeah, 2016. We weren't doing this back then, folks.
I was going to say.
We ain't that. We're old, but we ain't that old. Anyway, the news is that we finally found out a couple of things about what JJ Abrams is going to be doing right out of the gate with this super deal where they're paying him more money than God to do exclusive stuff for HBO Max, and The Shining spin-off series called Overlook is one of them, an adaptation of a comic book called Duster is another, and a series based on Justice League Dark.
Yay!
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 Cool.
Yay!
If they give it the treatment that Swamp Thing got, I'm all in.
Yep.
120%.
and more support so they can actually finish the last episode and just cutting it off instead of just cutting it off like they had to with Swamp Thing.
Yeah, Swamp Thing didn't deserve to get dick like that.
Yep.
Do we know
I tried.
That's
to
close.
skip over
That's
that
good.
word.
That's good. It's good. That's fine. We'll let that slide. I'm sorry, Gogo. You were.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. I started thinking about this and I totally jumped in. My apologies for interrupting y'all. Do we know if the guy who played Constantine in the Constantine show is going to reprise his role?
So we don't know, even if it's going to be live action or animated. They didn't say that at all. We know nothing about it.
Yeah, I read the article and it was. Yeah.
Matt Ryan did also do the voice of Constantine in Justice League Dark, and they kind of based the character design on him. That's Matt Ryan from the show, when they did the character design for the animation. So he was the voice of Constantine. He's the actor of Constantine in the live action show on NBC, and he was the voice of Constantine in the Justice League Dark series, and has reprised Constantine in Legends of Tomorrow, in Arrow, in at least those two Greg Berlanti shows on CW.
So it sounds promising. I'd like very much for them to keep him. What was it called? It was Hellblazer.
Hellblazer is the name of the comic. Yeah, that John Constantine was in.
Yeah, that's one of the only comics that I honestly kept up with for years and years and years and years. And I liked Matt Ryan's portrayal, and I'd like to see him, come back for sure.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those rare actors who has said like numerous times that like if you book him for it, he's all in.
Yep.
He's like all in anytime because he loved the character so much that he's just down.
When I interviewed him, I asked him that. It's like, would you be interested in doing this in other DC properties going forward? And he said literally that. I will do John Constantine whenever they ask me to, in whatever they ask me to. And this was a couple of years before they started making him. Actually, he's now a regular character on Legends of Tomorrow. He's one of the team members now.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the guy wakes up in the morning with like a Kigurumi design like that outfit.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Super Mega Fest.
That's true. Yeah. So this is awesome. I can't wait to see this. Of course, they just made the announcement. Sideline announcement to this is also HBO Max did just announce when it will start streaming, and that is May 21st. So you've only got a little bit more than a month to wait before you can actually see a bunch of new things and a lot of old stuff, and unfortunately not any of this new stuff that was announced under the Abrams deal.
Not for a while.
Yeah.
Oh man, I totally can't wait a month to split up another streaming service amongst friends.
Exactly. Shh. Gee, gets $14.99 a month. Are you kidding me?
That's affordable.
That's
I can do that. Sure.
Stupid.
That's pricey.
Yeah, that's wicked.
It is pricey.
You like digging deep into my pocket and telling me it's fun.
Yeah, well, it's an HBO product. What do you expect?
Yeah, it's HBO, and it's it's all of Warner as well. It's got all of that behind it, so there could be a huge, what do you call it? There's a huge back library of stuff that should be visible there.
Yeah, but Disney's $6 a month and $12 if you want to also get ESPN and Hulu. So
I feel like I pay through the nose for a whole lot of shit, and I hear a lot of it's this company versus that company, and you should be like I as a consumer should never be comfortable with a hand up my ass like working me like Kermit the Frog. Like it's just I should always be willing to fight for a cheaper price.
Exactly. And hopefully they will allow at least a couple of simultaneous sign-ins on a single contract, because otherwise that's just way too pricey. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait for that launch until some of this JJ Abrams stuff actually comes out, because there's nothing else on there that I want to see.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we're getting into our last topic. And this last topic doesn't necessarily, there's a lot of stuff in it, but who knows how long it's going to take. Everything's canceled, folks. Go home or stay home.
There we go. We're done.
That's it.
Yeah.
So
everything's canceled. Adam Driver's canceled. Everything's canceled.
Adam Driver's canceled. Oh no, I didn't hear that. What happened?
It's something stupid. Don't even. Nobody. What I just said. Just ignore what I said because it's dumb anyways.
Okay, we won't look that up. So the reason this is up here is because literally since our last show, and in fact almost within one 24-hour period, San Diego Comic-Con canceled. Anime Expo out in LA also canceled. I'm in the wrong. The only two things that are linked in here. Where's our content team page, which had all the others? So locally, Queen City Comic-Con canceled. Colossal Con moved. Colossal Con Prime, which is in June, moved its date into September. So it now conflicts with Great Philadelphia Comic-Con and is one weekend after Dragon Con.
Oh boy.
Generally, if New York Comic Con happens, like that's always tricky for me, is that there's Dragon Con and then there's just really a few weeks until New York Comic Con, and they're both so huge, and I have different activities and different looks for both. That's always such a crunch. And then you put Colossal Con in there, people are gonna have to make choices. If we can even go out and be safe, then don't know what's going to happen with Dragon Con. I'm still really nervous about that.
I'll tell you right now, I had the opportunity to go this year again, and I was interested, and then all this dumb shit started happening, and I'm not risking it. Like, you can't maintain 6 feet in Dragon Con. You can't maintain half an inch in Dragon Con, and I guarantee you that on the benefit of the doubt, someone will be asymptomatic. But on the negative side, there's going to be a dumb asshole that got that shit, and they're going to spread it because they want to have a good time. Not good time spreading it, but good time drinking and partying and not giving a damn about anyone else.
At Dragon Con that I haven't come back, and I always get my flu shot now in August, so I am covered. But I always come back from Dragon Con every year and get the con crud. There's just so many people, and again, that's like then that wears you down, and then it's time to get ready for New York, and that's another like press of people. But like, yeah.
So anyway. I would like I'd like to think that Crash is wrong in that somebody would deliberately go in there and infect people. But remember, Dragon Con 2 years in a row. 1 year somebody dropped beer bottles off of well above the 10th floor in the atrium of the Marriott, dropping down and shattering on either the hard floors below or some cases the brass railings, denting the brass railings this deep, shattering and cutting people, glass splaying everywhere. And then the next year people were throwing chairs off of the balconies of their rooms onto the outside deck of one of the other hotels.
I don't Crash, I don't think you were suggesting that somebody who's like tested positive
Yeah, I'm not saying.
No, hey, I'm just gonna go cough on people because I'm a jerk. I
don't think they're like going intentionally with the bioterrorism angle. What I'm saying is that they're gonna be symptomatic, and then they're gonna be like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go anyways." Like they're not gonna care. It's like if we wanna be optimistic, I love being optimistic. Optimism is one of my favorite things. But also, before we get optimistic here, ladies and gentlemen, let's point a finger at Florida.
Well, it's too soon to tell. That's a long way away. I'll keep an optimistic view on that one as well. It does worry me that Georgia is reopening a big chunk of stuff this weekend.
Yep.
And everything I can read about that, I don't think we want to turn this into a treatise on how different states are responding, but everything I can read about that, it's going to be a shit show. People aren't going to do what they need to do, and it's got the likelihood of putting several thumbs on several scales as far as spreading this more virulently than it would otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, bro, look at spring break.
We all get out there, man. Nobody wants to do go con. Nobody wants to do Dragon Con.
I go to a go
more than I do.
Hey.
Because we're planning on sharing a room together this year for the first time.
Well, exactly. I was so excited because I finally had my own room, and Greg was going to be my roommate. I'm like, this could not be more perfect. And it's like, and just from the perspective of a cosplayer, and so many of these groups and big projects that I've been doing for years with Dragon Con, where we're planning this stuff like 8 months in advance or even longer, and there were 4 new costumes and 4 new groups that I was going to do, and none of us even we're so like, we're talking and we're in group chats, and it's like, has anyone started yet? And we're all like, no, because they're like, a lot of my friends are like, this is, I can't imagine anything more depressing than making all these costumes and then just having nowhere to go with it. I'd rather wait and see if there's some miraculous change, and then we just like pull stuff together as cosplayers can do, and you cram for it in 3 weeks as opposed to working on it for 5 months.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I've been doing is working like on the difficult parts of the costumes I want to wear, and then that way, if things turn around, which I hope they do, all I got to do is worry on the easy shit. I don't got to worry about the hard stuff, like my genie costume, the pants, and everything is, and the top knot is all set. I just got to paint myself blue. That's it. I'm ready to go. The minute
I'll show up early in blue, you're real good.
Oh
man. And Willy Wonka, Michael Jackson's Chocolate Factory.
And there goes Tammy. Thanks. See, but
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, so folks, let's wrap this up. Greg, let's wrap this up with another statement. What do we got here?
Say again?
You were about to say something, so we'll give you the final word on this con scene.
No. We're all, 3 of the 4 of us here are cosplayers. Rodney's a cosplay photographer, as am I, as is Crash. We've all got plans. We've all got things we're disappointed aren't going to happen. We're all holding out, all fingers that can be crossed are crossed for Dragon Con, for New York Comic Con, for some of the stuff this fall to be able to happen. That said, I love all of you guys dearly, but if this is still a thing, I'm with you on that one. There's no way I'm going into the Marriott in Atlanta in August with 75,000 other people breathing on you.
Yeah.
I prefer to not die and B, not make anyone else sick.
Yeah. If I can add a personal note real quick, like I joke around a lot, and I tend to very rarely be serious about a lot of things, but I'm honestly begging all of you people who are watching to be empathetic, and especially in this time of this pandemic. If you don't care, if you don't believe, I don't care if you don't believe or not. I mean, I do, but At the end of the day, it's not about you. It's not about you being stir crazy. It's not about you being locked away home and being like oppressed. It's about you making sure that other people are not getting infected, or you getting this infection and passing it on to other people. You could be the healthiest person since Achilles sued Hector, and at the same time, you can still pass this on to someone else. Half my family is infected with this virus currently. My father, he might not make it, and my nephew, who's 8 years old, has this virus, and my sister has this virus, and they got it from people who thought it wasn't that serious. You know, my father being one of those people that thought it wasn't that serious. He went out. He's almost 70 years old. He went out hanging out with his friends, and they all got it. Like, this is a serious thing, and you need to take it serious. I know we're going into the summertime and we're all going to be a little crazy. You can go out into your backyard. You can go drive around. Just don't do Florida shit. Don't go hanging out with people and not give a flying damn about how anybody else feels about it. Because at the end of the day, you might not feel you're culpable, but you're culpable for the type of things that have put my family in the hospital.
Here, here. Stay home or you'll kill people. So that's it. On that happy note, we're going to wrap it up. But it's an important note. Wash your hands, folks. Wear that mask if you have to go outside. Stay home. Once again, for all of us, for GoGo Incognito, for Crash the Photos, for Wonderlama Photography, Wonderlama Cosplay, I'm Rodney Brown, first-person shooter, and I will see all of you next week, or many of you, or some of you, or hopefully a few of you, for our next Nerd Week Live. If not before then, I don't think I've got anything particular planned, but I'm working on another Bokeh Boomer Photographer Talks About Stuff live stream, so we'll see how that goes. Night all. Thanks everybody for joining me. Awesome. Oh, look at that background. Look at you with that background there, Lewis.
See ya.
All right. That says we've